Hello, welcome. My name is Mr. Miller. I'm the forensics coach at Rock Creek High School, and the purpose of this video is to give you some basic guidelines on how to judge forensics. This session will cover general areas, and then I'll put together videotape little segments over the events. So if you're judging a particular event, you can just watch that one section versus having to watch a long video over every single event. So first of all, thank you for volunteering to judge. It is impossible without you to have a forensics tournament. There's simply no way we could afford to pay everyone to do this. We have 48 rooms this year. It's a bigger tournament for us, and so to conceivably pay 48 judges every round, we couldn't do it. So thank you very much. This segment's kind of general. I just want to go through basically what you do and what you'll need to do. First of all, you need to have an idea of when your first round is. If you're judging at round 1, it starts at 8, which means you need to be here about 20 minutes or so before 8 o'clock. If you want to eat breakfast with us, that's great. You might want to show up a little bit more before the 20 minutes, half hour or so. But you'll come in through the main entrance doors, and there'll be a table in the lobby next to the horse on the floor. And Sarah Nider, our assistant coach, will be there, and she'll be checking in judges. And so you'll walk up to her and you'll tell her your name, and she'll give you a little card that tells, okay, here's what I need to do. It'll tell you what room you're in and what events you're judging, round 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And she'll also have a map for you if you need a map to find your room where it is. And then at that time, once you're checked in, you can go get coffee if you need it, something to eat, and then you need to get to your room, so you're there about 8 o'clock, and you want to sit. When you get to your room, you want to sit kind of in the middle of the room. You don't want to sit in the far back, and you don't want to sit way up front. Okay, kind of sit in the middle. If you have a timekeeper, have them sit right next to you. They'll be instructed to do so as well, but just to remind them, you don't want the timekeeper sitting behind you, and you don't want the timekeeper sitting in front, either one side or the other. Now, if there's not a timekeeper, then you cannot worry about time. So, no timekeeper, don't even worry about it, okay? It can't count against the kid. It only counts is if we have a timekeeper. So, with that in mind, the kids will come in, and it might be some time, some coaches like to bring, or judges like to bring a magazine or something with them while they're sitting there waiting. And the kid will walk in, they'll hand you a ballot. Okay? So like if you judge debate before, when you check in as a debate coach, you get a ballot then. But in forensics, the way we organize the forensics, you don't get the ballot, the kid will bring the ballot to you. And so they'll hand you the ballot, and you'll have a schedule taped next in the middle of the room where you should be judging, and I'll have the codes, for each contestant. You don't get to know what school the contestant's from. You really shouldn't know the school, but they'll have a code, and the code will consist of two things. It'll consist of a number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, or up to 22 in this case, and a letter, A, B, C, D, whatever. And so let's say the kid hands you a ballot and has code on the ballot 6A, and it'll be right up here at the top. And then you look on your list on the table and say 6A, and they're in the right room. Make sure the kids are in the correct room. Okay, if they hand you 6A and you look at your list and 6A is not supposed to be in your room, they're supposed to be in the other room, don't let the kids start. Just say, excuse me, I think you're in the wrong room. Show them the info, and they'll go and get in their correct room. Okay? It's not a huge penalty. It's not a huge problem. It can be kind of a problem, so just try to make sure that the kids you're supposed to have are in your room. Excuse me. Now, kid performs, right? And on the ballot you have questions that ask you to write down, for example, this HI ballot, choice of selection, what are the strengths and weaknesses of it, acting, how did they act, strengths, weaknesses, and comedic effects, since it's supposed to be funny. Each one of these ballots will have guidelines as to what it is that you're supposed to be writing on. Okay. Furthermore, we're going to photocopy the rules on the back of each ballot, so you'll have the rules with you. And then furthermore, on the checkout, the check-in table with Sarah, Coach Snyder, we'll have a list of suggestions, possible comments that you could write. If you really don't know what to write, this will have a list of comments that you can write. And I'll email that out too, so you have it to look ahead of time. So you write your comments down, and then the kid finishes and they leave, okay? They may want to shake your hand. You might want to think about that. Do you want to be shaking these kids' hands or not? A lot of people don't want to shake hands, especially in January, February with the flu kicking up. Don't want to mess with that. I generally don't shake hands. I'll just say, look, flu's going around. I prefer not to shake your hand. So, first kid comes in, you have the ballot, you write down your comments. Do not rank them yet. Do not. Okay, I'll show you the ballot here. Okay, so you have code right there. And then you notice the ranking over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're using a different system. Usually in the old days, we used a system where you ranked them 1 and then you assigned quality points. Well, we're not doing that quality points anymore. This is from Coach Harrell at Tonganoxie. He was gracious enough to let us use his system. And so all you have to do is rank them. Who's the best, who's the second best, who's the third, right? So you judge the first kid, but you do not mark this. And then you put his ballot or her ballot to the side. And then the next kid comes in, you take their ballot, and you double check, are they in the right room? Code, yep, they are. They perform. Now let's say the second kid is better than the first kid. So I take the second kid's ballot and I put it on top of the first kid. Does that make sense? So this guy is better than this guy. But then the next kid comes in, right? And now the third kid is not as good as the first kid, but he's better than the first kid. So I'm going to put his ballot in between. See? And then as the kids come in, let's say this guy just was amazing, so he's on top, and this kid was awful, and he's on the bottom, and this kid was, well, he's about the third best, so I put him right there. And I've written on all these comments on, okay, but then when I'm done, and they're all said and done, then my ballots are in order, and I know who's first, because whoever I think is first, I put on top of the stack. So I would circle him 1, and the next person would get the 2, and the 3, and the 4, and the 5, and 6. Does that make sense?
Mrs. Hawkins, 7-1. Donna Hawkins, 7-1, please.
So, they're in order. Got it? Then, when everybody has performed, okay, you would take your ballots, and you have to carry them. There will be a white table past the check-in table in the lobby, and it will be in front of the stage area, and it will say return ballots here. We'll have signs on the table that say return ballots here, and that's where you take your ballots. And if you get any time, you can run down the hospitality room in the home ec room and get a coffee or a water or whatever, or a donut. There won't be any donuts. There'll be muffins. We'll have muffins, and you can get something and you go to your next round, which will be on your card. So. One thing, we probably will have some cancellations due to flu on the morning of. So if the schedule in your room has a contestant listed and they don't show up, then you might want to look at the schedule hanging on the wall outside your room, because that's where we'll be marking off the cancellations. So if 6E is supposed to perform in your room you go outside, you see your room number and the contestants listed and 6E has been marked off, then you know that 6E is a cancellation, probably due to the flu, and they will not be performing for you. Okay? And then that's the way it works, and when round 3 is done, if you want to go eat lunch in the hospitality room, you can, or if you're only judging, if you're not judging finals, you know, you can eat and leave, or if you're not even here for round 3, then you can just go home. Any way you do it, I just want to emphasize, thank you again for judging. This is the first term of the season for most of the contestants. So it's a learning activity. The kids will want you to make comments on their ballots that are helpful. And if you think the piece is not appropriate for school, or you don't think it's very funny, or whatever, they'd rather hear it now than 2 months from now. Okay? So they are looking for tips, suggestions from you on how they can do a better job speaking and communicating. Okay? So try to make your comments productive, helpful, don't insult the kids. Just say, hey, this is, I think, you know, if you're judging a speech, for example, and the kid is kind of talking about different things, and there's like one part of the speech where you think, that is interesting. You might suggest to the kid, hey, you know that third point? That was really interesting. If you could give me more info on that third point, maybe even restructure your speech so it's all about that third point. Get rid of first and second because, quite frankly, they were boring. You know, give them some guidance, suggestions, helpful, something. Tell them what they need to work on, okay? Because it is January, right? And nobody's ready for state. And then as a judge, when you're sitting there, try to sit up. Do not have your cell phone out at all. Don't have a computer out at all. The timekeeper will have a laptop with a timer on it, but you shouldn't have any electronic devices out at all. Actually, if you could, before the day begins, just turn your cell phone off or turn the ringer off. Just turn it completely off. Is probably a good suggestion. And try to be a good audience. How would you want people to behave if you were talking? You know, smile, be pleasant, okay, that kind of thing. So anyway, those are all the suggestions I have in general, and the following videos will be broken down into events, and the titles of the videos will be told. So, you know, if I've told you, you know, you've told me what you want to judge. Those would be the areas that you should probably watch, because that's where I'm going to assign you to judge. So anyway, thanks again, appreciate it, and I hope you have fun judging.